Crunchyroll's increased their prices, okay? And they're doing that, but why aren't they translating text on screen
Mm-hmm. We saw
when
the same
these
video.
other pirate websites are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Because I'm on Crunchyroll's side. I love Crunchyroll. Anybody that's
Mm-hmm.
listened to this podcast knows that I am a Crunchyroll fanboy. I like what they do. And
Right.
as somebody that is a fan and a customer, I believe that I have the right to be critical when things happen that I may not agree with, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I always look at things. So hearing her say that, I'm like, you know what? I'm a fan of Crunchyroll. I like what's going on. I didn't want them to increase prices. It is what it is. But this is a very, very valid point. If you're wanting to become, and if Crunchyroll ever sees this or listens to it, if you're wanting to become the premier place to stream anime content and
Mm-hmm.
you're wanting to increase your price, you've got to increase your value. You've got to increase the value of what you're giving to your customers. And if pirate sites are able to, when somebody walks into a ramen shop, translate the name of the ramen shop that's in Japanese over the top of the door, you guys should be able to do that too. It's not that hard unless you're using AI to make your subtitles. You don't actually have real people looking at it, right? So there's the caveat to that. So that was a critique that I heard, and I was like, that's a really based critique. Like, I've even noticed that and complained myself. Like, I wonder what that says. And you know, a way they get around it sometimes is if they're showing text. So like, say the characters are looking at something and it's in Japanese, and the characters are off screen, and whatever they're looking at, the words are on screen. In English, they can dub over English words to like they're reading what it says, so you understand what it's saying, right? So that's definitely something that I've noticed before too. And I was like, I don't agree with the delivery. I think the delivery of that specific video was a little harsh, but the point I agree with. Like, that's something that Crunchyroll could do to add more value that I would appreciate, especially when the pirate sites can do that.
Well, especially if you're paying for the service too.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. I feel like we've been going at this the wrong way. And I think we should correct ourselves, actually, because when we keep on saying Crunchyroll it is, technically,
really
yes,
Sony.
they did, but it's Sony.
Yeah.
If we're someone to be mad at, I think it's more Sony's been making these decisions, or at least I'm assuming that they're making these assumptions.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point, because Crunchyroll is owned by Sony. And so as soon as big corporate is pulling the strings, the smaller company, being Crunchyroll, is obliged to do what Sony tells them to do.
I mean, they're at the mercy of it. And I mean, like, you can't technically be mad at Crunchyroll if this is what the hires up are saying. If Crunchyroll came with the decision and said, hey, we want to raise prices, then yes, you can be mad at Crunchyroll. Right now, you think there's multiple parties behind this. And I'm thinking, if you look at the history, when Sony bought Crunchyroll, a lot of the stuff when I started to dislike Crunchyroll is when this happened. So I'm going off what I'm seeing evidence. And that's what we went with the prices. We went off of history and evidence. I'm going off of that.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and this just came in when you were talking about this. So it was even before this. I had my mindset focused on being mad at Crunchyroll, and I need to take a step back and realize, am I really mad at Crunchyroll? Probably not. Maybe they're at the mercy. I'm hoping that. I do hope whoever is in charge of doing the decisions at Crunchyroll right now takes time to heed what they're about to do, because raising the prices isn't as big of an issue as some people are making it to be. Here's why. If you had just communicated to people, hey, we're going to do this. We need to raise prices for better production. We need to raise prices for better subtitles. We need production for this, to fight inflation.
We want to get more.
Even if it's complete BS, tell me what you're going to do with that money before you take it. All right? Another thing you should do also, the most important, which just makes me more infuriated about this, do not do it mid-season.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. They're doing
mid-season,
this, right? Because it'll be at the first of the next month, right? The 1st of March that takes effect, which is going to be right smack freaking dab in the middle of the winter season. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
I mean, you either do it in the beginning or the end of a season. That's the way I see it.
Good point.
Mid-season makes me wonder why. What's going on? So you got me pondering. You got me more focused on that. Versus if you did something that's just beginning of the season or end of the season, you're like, okay, whatever. You could have brushed it off. But now you have more people focusing on this. Now you have more people pissed off. Make it make sense to me. I don't understand.
things like that make me think that it's more of a top down decision of Sony being like, hey, we need to
Just do it. Yeah.
we need to increase our profits by X amount for this next quarter. How do we do that? Well, let's raise the prices 20%, and that'll do that.
There's another thing that could happen that you might not have thought of. What did Crunchyroll do recently that was a big thing to the anime community? Any guess? Potentially?
Give me a hint.
Okay, starts with an H, ends with an E. 2 words technically.
They bought High Dive?
They're partnering with High Dive.
They're partnering with High Dive. That's right.
Yes. They're working with them, partnering, whatever you want.
A part of that like streaming coalition, right? Where it's like a bunch of
sharing libraries.
Yeah, where that's all those specialty streaming. So they're working with High Dive, but then they also joined in that big streaming coalition. Remember?
Exactly.
So it's like where all of these specialty streaming channels like Slasher, and it's like all of these streaming websites that specialize in a specific genre, like
and what
horror,
happens,
action, whatever. They all kind of made an agreement together to pool their collective customer basis, and that gives them more power. Yeah, that's a good.
So what happens is, Crunchyroll didn't get into this agreement. High Dive did. But if High Dive and Crunchyroll are partnering, you can make the assumption that Crunchyroll might do this. Now, with this agreement that High Dive did with all these other, was it 15, 16 other streaming platforms?
It was
a
about
bunch.
A dozen. Yeah.
They came to an agreement that if one streaming platform does it, all the other streaming platforms do it. So if Crunchyroll, who is partnered with High Dive, raises prices, High Dive might raise prices.
Yeah.
All those other platforms might raise prices. Did they just do a domino effect potentially? Is this going to be a bigger thing?
It'd be interesting to look at all of the streaming platforms in that coalition and to see what changes have been made amongst all of them. That'd be interesting.
You hear it right now. Okay, before we talk about animes and everything else, you really came here to listen, or the tangents. Think about this, okay? We told you about One Punch Man. Okay, done talking about that. We told you about Crunchyroll raising prices. Okay, done talking about that. Heed us. Other streaming platforms might be doing the same as well. And biggest thing I think will happen recently, I'd say within 6 months, I could see it, or within at least, I'd say a year minimum or max. And then 6 months minimum for Crunchyroll to get rid of shared accounts. And if that happens, dude,
that'd suck.
That is a big selling point that they have.
Yeah.
Because prices got raised and everyone's like, okay, fine, we'll just chip in an extra $1 or $2 because if you're sharing with 4 other people, what's that to you? You know?
Yeah.
It's not that much.